All right, algebra students, here we are. We got the second part of 6.5. We're going to be again talking about multiplying polynomials. So let's take a look at what we've done so far and we'll talk about what we're going to be up to today. So in our last lesson, 6.5a, we learned how to multiply polynomials. So we did this same exact problem right here. All right, we learned how to multiply this polynomial here by this one on this side. All right, today what we're going to be looking at is how we're going to go about multiplying two binomials. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. So if you take a look, this one looks quite a bit different than what we had yesterday. We have one binomial here because it's made up of two terms separated by either an addition or subtraction operation, multiplied by a second binomial over here. Same thing, separated by either addition or subtraction. Okay, so how we go about doing that, we have a shortcut process to save us a whole ton of steps to go through this, and we call that the FOIL method. Okay, so we're going to break this down, what the FOIL method means. All right, so the F in FOIL stands for first. All right, so what first means is taking a look at these two binomials here. We're going to multiply the first term over here by the first term over here. Okay, so we can draw like our distributing curves that we do to show that we're going to be doing distributive property, because really that's kind of what we're going to show when we're all done with this. Okay, so there's our first two terms going to get multiplied. The O stands for outside. All right. So what I'm going to show is, again, I'm going to start with the X because the X is my outside term over here, and it's going to get multiplied by the outside term over here on this side. All right. So notice how it looks like we're doing the distributive property with the X to everything over here, and that's exactly what we're doing. All right. Next we have the I. So that's going to tell us the next thing to multiply. The I stands for inside. Okay, so we're going to take our inside term here, the 3, and it's going to get multiplied by our other term here inside the X. So to not get a bunch of lines drawn up here to make it confusing, I'm going to draw a line down here to show that 3 is going to get multiplied by X. All right, and the L in FOIL stands for last. Okay, so what that means, we have one more line to draw with the 3. The 3 is actually our last term over here, so it's going to get multiplied by the last term that is over here. And really, if you take a look at our lines that we drawn, I know it's kind of upside down here, but we're doing the distributive property with the 3. Okay, and so we're going to go about multiplying this now that we got those lines like that. But you can think of what we're going to do next as doing the distributive property. Okay, we're going to do distributive property twice. All right, and what I mean by that is we're going to distribute the X and multiply, and then we're going to distribute the 3 and multiply. Okay, so let's follow our FOIL process and see what we end up getting. First, we're going to multiply our two X's. So really, if there's no exponent there, remember we can consider a 1 being right there. So X1 times X1 is going to give me X2. Okay, so that would be the F in FOIL. We got an X2 for that. Next is outside, so we have X1 times positive 2. X1 times positive 2 is going to be plus 2x. All right, multiplying 2 and x together. All right, that takes care of O, the outside, and we've just done the distributive property with the X over here. Next, we're going to do the I, the inside, so we're going to take 3 times x, it's a positive 3 times x, so that's going to get me plus 3x. All right, so now we're starting our distributive property with the 3, and the L is the last, so we have the 3, which is last, multiplied by the 2 over here, which is also last. So it's positive 3, positive 2 is going to get me positive 6. All right, and we've just completed the distributive property with the 3. So see how we did that distributive property twice, first with the x, then with the 3. All right, and we ended up with this here when we got done. All right, so now what we can do, there's actually some like terms. We can simplify this more because we have like terms that we can combine. We have a 2x and we have a 3x. They have the same exact terms because they both have just a single x with them, so they can combine together. So we would have x squared by itself plus 5x because we can add those, and then plus 6. All right, and that would be our final answer. So that is multiplying two binomials using the FOIL method. Okay, we're going to practice this some more. Let's take a look at our next problem we have. Okay, here we got two binomials we're going to multiply together. We got h plus 4 times h minus 3. We're going to use the FOIL method as a shortcut to do this. So let's go ahead and start drawing our curves first to show what we're going to multiply. F stands for first. So h is first times the h, which is also first over here on this side. So we're doing distributive property with the h. Next is O. That stands for outside, so the h is the outside term times the negative 3, which is the outside term over there. All right, so there's our distributive property done with the h. Next, we're going to move on to the I. All right, so I is inside. Now we got to do distributive property with the 4. So 4 times h, because they are both on the inside. And L is going to be last, so we got to go 4, which is the last term here, times the negative 3, which is the last term over there. Okay, so we got our lines. Now we're ready to go ahead and multiply these things. All right, so we're going to take h times h. All right, remember, we can put a exponent of 1 there if we want to. So h1 times h1 is going to give me h2. All right, next I have the outside. So I have h times, and we're going to treat this like a negative 3. So h times negative 3 is going to give me negative 3h. All right, we're on to the I, the inside. So we got positive 4 times h, which is going to get me plus 4h. All right, then we have the L, the last. So we're going to have positive 4 times negative 3. 4 and 3 is going to get me 12, but it's going to be a negative 12 because we got positive 4 times negative 3 to give negative 12 like that. All right, so now that we got that down and we got all of our FOIL completed, we check if we have some like terms. We do. We have 2 just regular h's here, so we can do some math with the numbers in front of the h. We have negative 3 plus 4. All right, that's going to get me a positive 1 if we do that math. So we're going to have h2 plus, and you can write it 1h if you want. All right, but usually we don't include that 1 there if it's just a single variable, so we can just simplify that up to make it look like that. All right, so you can use the 1 to kind of help you do the math, and then we'll drop that so that we got it simplified all the way. Okay, so that would be our final answer for that problem. Using FOIL, let's take a look at one that might have a little bit more going on. Okay, so here we have this one here. Again, we got 2 binomials, one here on this side, one on this side. We can use the FOIL method as a shortcut to help us out. So we have our first terms, 8m2 times m2. Then O is going to be outside, so we have 8m2 times negative 3n. There's our outside. I is going to stand for the inside. So we have negative n times m2, and L is going to stand for the last. So we're going to have negative n, and the last curve we got to draw is over here to the negative 3n. All right, check it out. Distributive property with both terms. We got the 8m2 being distributed. We got the negative n being distributed. All right, so now let's just calculate what we have going on. So 8m2 times m2. All right, there's no number to multiply with the 8, so we're simply just going to leave it in 8. Okay, so then we can do the math with our m2. So m2 times m2, add your exponents. That's going to get you m to the 4. All right, now let's go with the outside. We got 8m2 times, we're going to treat that like a negative, so that's going to be negative 3n. So first deal with your numbers. 8 times negative 3 is going to get you negative 24. All right, then we have m2 times no m over here to multiply, so it's just going to stay m2. All right, and then we got no n to multiply with the 8m2, so n is just going to stay by itself. Okay, so we got our O done, our outside terms. Let's take a look at I, the inside terms. We have negative n times m2. All right, to keep it in alphabetical order as we're lining these up, I'm going to check my m2. So I have m2 times negative n. I have nothing to multiply the m2 with over there, but it is a positive times a negative, so that's going to be negative m2. All right, and then the n has nothing to multiply with over here, so that's just going to stay an n. All right, and we have the L, the last. So we're going to take a look at the last thing to multiply. So here we have negative n times negative 3n. So we have a negative times a negative. So the 3 has nothing to multiply with. They're both negatives, though, so that's going to be positive 3. And our last thing we got here, we have n to the 1 times n to the 1. You can put an exponent there if it helps. So n1 times n1 is going to give me n2. All right, so we got everything done according to our steps for FOIL. Now we take a look and see if we can combine some like terms. Okay, and here's why I kept my letters organized in alphabetical order, because I can see that M2N matches up perfectly with M2N, so we can combine these like terms. We could put a 1 right there if it helps us kind of do the math, because we have negative 24 and negative 1. So negative 24 and negative 1 together is going to get me negative 25. So what I have left is 8m4. These combine to negative 25. And that was an m2n. And at the end here, I could just do plus 3n2, like that. All right, so that would be my final answer for those two binomials multiplied together. All right, let's take a look at one more example, and then I'm going to have you guys try one on your own, see what you come up with. Okay, so here's what I got here. This isn't a binomial, but what we have is x minus 4 taken to the power of 2. All right, so when we take something to the power of 2, that means we multiply it by itself. Okay, for example, quick little example, 8 to the power of 2 is the same as going 8 times 8. All right, to get our answer. We're going to do the same thing, except we just have a binomial to do that with. All right, so we're going to break this out as x minus 4 times itself, x minus 4. And that represents x minus 4 to the power of 2. All right, now that it looks like this, then we have two binomials that we can multiply together. So we can go back to our FOIL method to help us out. So we have our first terms multiplied. So we're doing distributive property with x. So first, then we're going outside, and that takes care of everything with the x. Now we have the I and the L. So we have inside with negative 4 and x, and outside, or I mean last, with -4 and -4. Okay, so there's our curves drawn for FOIL. Now we'll just multiply to see what we get. X times x is going to get me x to the power of 2. So there's my first. Then I have x times, and we're going to treat this like a -4. So x times -4 will give me -4x. All right. Then we have our I, our inside. So we have -4 times x, which is going to give me -4x. And then we have the L, the last. So we have -4 times -4. A negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 16. All right. That's what we got after we completed everything with FOIL. We can combine some like terms because we have an x and an x here that we can combine. So that's going to turn into x squared. Add those two -4's together, combine them together to get -8x, and we'll just bring down the positive 16. All right, so that would be our final answer for this problem. All right, I'm going to have you guys try one on your own, see how you do with the FOIL method. All right, I have this guy right here. See what you can do with that. Do your FOIL steps. Pause the video, and then in a few minutes, we'll take a look at what you guys came up with. All right, let's see what this would come out to be. All right, so here we have our FOIL method that we did. We got our first, our outside, our inside, our last. Now we're going to go through and multiply everything. Our first got us 2a to the 2 because we had two a's that we multiplied to get a2. Our outside got us 8ab to the 2. All right, there's our a, and here was our b2. Our 2 and 4 got us the 8. All right, then we have our inside. So we got negative AB2, all right, because there's no numbers there. That's a negative, that's a positive. So we have negative. You could put a 1 there if you want to, which helps out for the next part. So then you have A by itself, B2 by itself, because they didn't have anything to multiply. And then lastly, you have negative B2 times positive 4b2, so that would get us a -4 and b to the 4 because of those two exponents. Combine our like terms, we have these two in the middle to combine, which is usually the case. All right, so those would combine together. We have 8, a positive 8, and a -1 to get us positive 7. All right, so that would be your guys' final answer for that. All right, one last problem we're going to take a look at. So instead of multiplying two binomials together, we're going to take a look at what happens if we have to multiply a binomial by something else over here, okay, such as a trinomial, because we have 3 parts to it. All right, we really don't have a nice little FOIL trick for this, so we're going to have to kind of do this the long way using the distributive property. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 5x, and it's going to get multiplied by everything over on this other side. Then we're going to take our 3, and we're going to multiply 3 by everything over here on this other side. Okay, and we're going to write everything out to keep us nice and organized so that we don't get confused here. Okay, so let's start with the 5x. All right, so my 5x, I'm going to put that on the outside. I'm going to break this apart. My 5x is going to go on the outside. I'm going to have some open parentheses, and I'm going to put this next to the 5x because I'm going to distribute the 5x. Okay, so I have 2x2 plus 10x minus 6. All right, so there is my first part. I'm preparing to do the distributive property with 5x. All right, next, I have an addition sign separating my 5x and my 3, so I'm going to put that addition sign right there. And next I'm going to do show my distributive property with the 3. So I'm going to put 3 there, open parentheses, same thing. Put everything over here inside your parentheses. So 2x2 plus 10x minus 6. All right, close it up. And this is what we have to start with. All right, we're showing 5x getting multiplied by everything. And then we have 3x, or 3 getting multiplied by everything. All right, so now we can go ahead and do our distributive property. Let's start with that 5x. So 5x times 2x2 is going to get me 10x3. All right, adding the exponents. Next we have 5x times 10x, and it's positive, so that's going to get me plus 50 x2, again, adding those exponents. And lastly, I have 5x times negative 6, so multiply the numbers, negative 30, and the x has nothing, so it's just going to drop right there. Okay, so that's what I have so far. Now I'm going to do my distributive property with the 3 and see what I come up with. So I have positive 3 times 2x2, so that's going to get me positive 6x2. All right, so there's my first one. Next, I have 3 times positive 10x. They're both positive, so 30, and the x is just going to drop right there. And last, I have 3 times negative 6, which is going to get me negative 18. And no x's, so it's just going to be a plain number. Okay, so look at that big mess that we have now, all of those terms. All right, so now we're just going to go through and see what like terms we have to combine. All right, so start over here with your x3. I don't have any other x3s in here, so 10x3 will not combine with anything. So we're going to leave it there. Next, take a look at your 50x2, your x2, find some other x2s. Here's another one that we have, so we can combine positive 50, positive 6 together to get 56x2. All right, so that takes care of those. Next, I have just a plain x, and I have another plain x over here. So I have negative 30x and a positive 30x. All right, if you have negative 30 combined with positive 30, they cancel out. So these are going to become no more, and our x's completely are gone, disappear. So the only thing we got left is our minus 18, and that's going to come to the very end. All right, so that's our final answer. That's how we would multiply a binomial and a trinomial together. This is good stuff. Try one on your own, see what you guys come up with. All right, check this one out, and then we'll take a look at you guys' answer here in a few minutes. Go ahead and pause the video, give you some time to work on it. All right, let's take a look at what this came out to be. Okay, so we're doing our distributive property with the 3x, and then we're going to be doing distributive property with the 1. So we'll break it apart. So here's our 3x with everything over here that it's going to get distributed with, plus, because we got our plus sign in between the 3x and 1, and then our 1 that we're going to distribute to everything over here, which if we distribute the 1, not much is really going to happen with that. All right, so that saves us a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. So from this, we ended up with 3x4 plus 12x3 minus 21x. Then we got everything over here got multiplied by 1, so really we ended up with, you could call this 1x3 if you want to, plus 4x2 minus 7. All right, then we go through and we can combine any like terms that we are able to combine, and the only things that we could combine was this 12x3 and this 1x3. All right, that's the only like terms we had, which got us the 13x3 right there. and that is it. All right, nice work today, guys, on furthering your skills on multiplying some polynomials. I hope that worked out okay. Your assignment will show up after this, and then next class period, you guys will have a review assignment to kind of work on what we just did, and then I'll be back and we'll start picking up the end of Chapter 6 and answering any other questions you guys might have. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys soon.